start line for the second varsity race between Drexel, GW, Georgetown, and Princeton. The crews are locked on. They are aligned. We should see the start any minute now. Looks like this headwind is coming up just a little bit. Hopefully nothing that will affect the crew's rowing. It is a beautiful day down here on Lake Carnegie. Not a single cloud in the sky.
We have GW in lane 1, Princeton in lane 2, then Drexel in lane 3, and Georgetown in lane 4. And now we'll introduce the Princeton crew in this 2V race. The coxswain is Brandon Levy. The stroke is Johnny Naylor. 7 is Ethan McAlpin. 6 is Julian Goldman. 5 seed is Charles Watt. 4 is Dan DeGroot. 3 is Harry Higginbottom. 2 is David Babikian. And Jim Palmer is in the bow.
Boats are off. Looks like we've got really high stroke rating coming out of that Tiger 2V. Princeton is really popping the rhythm right now. Looks like Drexel is as well. Crews are coming up on the first 250-meter mark, and it looks like Princeton is out in the lead. These Tiger crews have been really blasting off the line here today. Really impressive starts.
And now they're approaching the 200, 250, and Princeton is out by 3 seats over GW, and then it's Georgetown followed by Drexel. And Georgetown and Drexel are right neck and neck, and
yeah, they are bow ball to bow ball right now. Looks like Georgetown and Drexel are really giving each other a go. GW is about 4 or 5 seats behind Princeton. The Tigers look really long. That stroke seat, Johnny Naylor, laying down a big rhythm. We've seen some really long rowing from the Tiger varsity and 2V today. That stroke seat's Augustine Wambersy and Johnny Naylor laying down really nice, smooth rhythms for those crews.
Yeah, Princeton is keeping the stroke rating really low, and they're really leaning into their finishes. It seems like they pushed their margin out to about 6 or 7 seats, and we're about to get to the 500. We'll see if they make a little bit of a push in this next 500 to see if they can get some open water.
Yeah, rowing in this headwind's got to be a little difficult, but the Princeton and GW boats look like they're really leaning into it, putting down some power behind those oars. We've got some really strong guys in this Princeton 2V, 6-seat Julian Goldman, who's done double stroke duty at Henley races in the past. We've also got Harry Higginbottom in the 3-seat, who deadlifts 680 pounds. So they've got some real power in this 2V, and they are pushing away through the first 500 meters of this race.
Yeah, Princeton has opened up at least about 3 seats of open, and then they're followed by George Washington, who seems to be about half a length up on Georgetown, who is now about bow to stern with Drexel.
Yeah, those Tigers are moving away, and it looks like GW's been continually moving out on this Georgetown boat. Georgetown guys have been maintaining their margin with Drexel the last couple hundred meters. Let's look to see if they can put on a move and catch up to GW in the next 500.
We're now approaching the 1,000-meter mark, and Princeton is keeping their progress going, and they seem to be pushing their lead out even farther, and they're approaching about a length of open, it seems.
Yeah, these guys are rowing really long. They're going back down past the varsity crews coming from the finish line. For those of you just tuning in, Princeton won the first race of the day. That's the varsity race. So it's Princeton, Princeton, GW, Georgetown, and then Drexel. And we're looking at a really fast Tiger 2V. They have probably a length of open water there through the 1,000-meter mark. That's GW through the 1,000. Georgetown's about to cross now. And then Georgetown over Drexel by about a length. We're looking at a great battle between this Drexel and Georgetown crew. Georgetown really trying to push back into GW, and Drexel trying to claw back into Georgetown's lead.
And right now we're getting some serious separation with Princeton pushing the margin to probably a length and a half of open.
Maybe even more, Jamie. They look like they're really going for it right now. These Tigers are looking long. They are relaxed blurring to this headwind, and just like the varsity, we're seeing some really nice blade work in the face of this headwind. Looks like GW is actually dropping back a little bit. This could get interesting with Georgetown maybe moving up on them, but the Tigers are walking away right now with this one as we approach the 1,500 meter mark.
Yeah, it looks like it's becoming more of a race for second place. GW definitely has about a length on Georgetown, but Georgetown has put in some serious work in this third 500 and has pushed their margin over Drexel to about a length of open.
Yeah, and we're seeing some wind picking up here in the last 750 meters of the course. Princeton's approaching the last 500, and they are handling the conditions very, very well. They have moved out even farther on GW and Georgetown. We're looking at a couple of lengths of open water at this point. We'll see what happens in the last 500.
Yeah, and Princeton is now through the 500 meter to go mark, and now GW is passing through it. A couple more strokes for Georgetown and about 5 or 6 more strokes for Drexel. It seems like this order has spread out a little bit and will stay unless anything drastic happens in this race.
Yeah, it looks like GW is starting to handle the conditions a little better. They might have picked up the stroke rating a beat or two, and I think they've moved back out on Georgetown. So right now we have the Princeton second varsity boat approaching the last 250 meters, followed by George Washington, Georgetown, and then Drexel.
And Princeton's made it into the red buoys for the last 250, and they are taking up their stroke rate and are in their sprint and are moving out on the field even farther. And Drexel, unfortunately, has fallen back a little bit, but they seem to be taking up the stroke rate and are sticking to Georgetown.
Yeah, that Princeton boat is rowing for time right now. They are really pushing the pace in that sprint. Good on them for really kicking it up in that last 250 meters. We've got Georgetown in the red buoys as well. Those guys are also laying it down. It looks like they bumped up the stroke rating about 2 beats just immediately going into the red buoys. It looks like GW might be a little out of reach for them. GW also brought it up as well. Those guys have definitely put on the pace in the last 500 meters of this race. Princeton looks like they're almost through the line, and that is Princeton through the line in first place in the second varsity race. It's our second race of the day. GW approaching the line in second place. We're okay with calling that right now. They have about 4 more strokes to go. Georgetown maybe 7 or 8 strokes. Those guys have really brought up the rating in the last few strokes, and then Drexel is in the last probably 15 strokes of the race as well. That's GW across the line. Georgetown approaching. That's Georgetown across the line, and a few more strokes left for the Drexel Dragons.
And Drexel's on their last 3 strokes and is crossing the line now.
So this wind is really interesting here, Jamie. At the finish line, we have no movement on the flags right on the line, but really from 1250 to go to 750 meters, from 1250 to go to 250 meters left, there's a real cross headwind. You can see some flags snapping on the shores of Lake Carnegie here. Beautiful day, a little cold. Almost all the crews are wearing long sleeves racing, but we're going to head back to the start now to get you that heavyweight 3V race.
And we'll be back shortly.